Last month we did about 3 million. Our biggest ever commission we've had would be like 400,000 or 500,000. We got one that'll be a $5 million commission. We do a boatload of content, like a boatload. Go on there. It's the Ken Okazaki Platinum Package. It's all day, every day content to the point where celebrities reach out to us. I will have an unstoppable brand because I didn't stop.
This is the Content Capitalists Podcast. We talk to business owners who've used video to grow their businesses to $1 million a year or more. How they did it, what worked, what didn't. Welcome to the Content Capitalists with your host, Ken Okazaki.
And welcome to the Content Capitalist Podcast. Today I have with me Matt Ryder. We're going to have conversations on this podcast all about 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners and specifically how they got to where they are and how they're currently using content and capitalizing on that in their business. Matt, really excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Ken. Pleasure to be here.
So Matt, we've met through mutual contacts. We're inside of a lot of networks and a lot of people who are on social media. They're making money on social media. They're excelling at it. And especially in the coaching and online education space, you're connected to a lot of people. Tell me a bit about what your business is and what you do for people.
Yeah, for sure. So we have a few different businesses running under 1 and 2 different banners. So the first is we have a sales training organization called 7th Level, where we do that with a guy called Jeremy Miner with a methodology called NEPQ, and that's where we teach sales reps predominantly how to be better at selling, which is a really good lead-in for the other sort of business, which is like the Sniper family of businesses. The core of it being Sales Sniper, which is a done-for-you sales agency. So we come into businesses and we act as the sales manager. And then we also have our own sales reps and we get a lot of them from training them in the NEPQ methodology. So that kind of works really well. And then from there, we also have a marketing company and like an operational fit-out company. So essentially like what we are at Sales Sniper or Scope Partners, which is the overarching background company, we are a front-end acquisition specialist.
Gotcha. Now, when I'm hearing all this, I'd imagine that if I was new to business or if I was trying to get into the online space and I didn't really have my feet planted yet or my systems all in place, I'd probably feel like, how the heck am I ever going to get to that level? So if you don't mind, what I want to do is take us back to how this started, a little bit of your backstory. You and I have had a few conversations in the past. I know that you had some military experience. Could you tell us a bit about transitioning from before you're an entrepreneur to being a multiple business owner and CEO right now?
Yeah, so I was in special operations for years. I was a sniper. That's where the name came from, Sales Sniper, because I just wasn't very creative. So I was like, I used to be a sniper and now I do sales. Alliteration always sounds good in a name. So I just decided to go with Sales Sniper. So as I transitioned out of the military, I became a personal trainer actually. And then I ended up being a pretty successful one, owning a few gyms, and then kind of just cracking it with that business model in general and kind of wanting to do something else. So I had a pretty like unimpressive exit, I guess, from a company that took a very long time to build. But it was more like I threw my hands up and I was done with it by that time. And that's when I started getting into more of like the actual sales side. And when I left that company, because I was like, by that stage we had diluted down and lots of people had come in. So I was a shareholder, but I wasn't in charge. And so when I left that, I really left it with almost nothing. And the only thing that I could do was sell. And so I threw my hands up in the air and was like, the only thing I know how to do at the moment is train people. I do not want to go back to the military. I did not want to go back to personal training just because I just didn't really enjoy it anymore. And so I just cold called a bunch of gyms and was like, hey, you want a sales guy? And they were like, yeah, sure. I was like, commission only. Let's start off with that. And then from there, I built that into like, I was doing the sales for around 7 or 8 gyms, but I was working, 18, 19 hours a day by myself because I had a kid and then I had one on the way and we had no money, like none whatsoever. Like I'm talking like, bro, we were broke. Like me and my wife used to argue over like $4 Kmart t-shirts and shit like that for the kids. Then when I got my feet underneath me in the sales side, I started to sort of bring people in under me. And then from there, I went from selling for gyms and the marketing companies who were doing the marketing for the gyms asked me to do some sales for them. So then I started selling like marketing packages. And from there, like the business coaches from the marketing people, from the marketing guys were like, hey, do you want to come give our sales a shot? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then from there, I just took it and ran with it. And I did a couple of courses, got really, really good results in those courses. And then from there, it became a known element within a very small niche set of sort of coaching and consulting people. And that's of where the elements of the business began. I was just a sales guy. And my passion has always been like in business. Like I always enjoyed the problem solving of like entrepreneurship. And so I didn't really want to stay just in sales. And I like to have a lot of different projects on the go at a time. So that's where kind of the beast that is the sort of sniper network began.
That's super cool, man. Thanks for sharing that. I'm curious. You were a sniper in the military, and you said that when you left the military, you went and started your own gym, or sorry, your personal trainer, right?
Yeah.
What made you decide that sales was the thing for you? Because I'd imagine in the military, everything's very top down, right? And it's not really an entrepreneurial environment. Whereas you come out and decide to start your own thing.
Yeah, it's very creatively stifling, which is why I was never getting lost. It's one of the reasons why I was good at my job, but like I was never going to be a lifer because I do have a fairly creative brain. Like I like to solve problems in innovative ways, which is good up to a point, but it's very hard to constrain people like me within a box, as I'm sure like you're the same. And most people probably watching this, it doesn't really work that well. And so like when I left the military, I didn't really know what to do. Like I spent my 20s kicking doors in and shooting terrorists. And I was like, it's just not really a very actionable skill set within the realms of like the quote unquote real world. So I just did something that I knew I could do.
So what is a typical transition? Do most people who leave the military that were in your position go into security companies and stuff?
A lot of it's private security, cops, and personal trainers. It's a large contingent. Some become business owners. But like to go back to your question, like I didn't know I was in sales until I've been doing sales for 10 years. I'm a personal trainer and I'm a gym owner, but like I spent 8 hours a day doing sales. And I never once, like literally as silly as it sounds, I never once considered myself a sales guy until I became the best sales guy in the company that I was working for. And we had 100 employees and we had 18 gyms. And I was the guy who was sent out to fix all the sales. And even then I was like very reluctantly, I was just like, oh, I've just figured out a way to do this. But then when I left the company and I had really nothing else, I was like, I think I'm good at that. So I might as well give it a try. But I mean, it took me 10 years to get to a level of where, and this is selling every single day of where I was sort of decent enough at it to be considered someone who can come in and do this for you.
And did you have any training about sales at that point at all?
Pretty minimal. If you spend 8 hours a day, so it goes back to like when I was like sniping taught me a lot because it's all very data driven. So like you have to have systems and processes and ways to minimize variables. So your entire job as a sniper is to minimize or understand every variable available, because if you're shooting it at like 1 kilometer, if your barrel is 1 millimeter to the left, you miss by 1 meter. That's how I look at the world, because that's in my most formative years from like 19 to 26. That's what I did. So in sales, I would constantly track all my data. And I just found this to be common sense, to be perfectly honest. I just tracked all my data and then I have a look at when I do this happens pretty consistently. I don't like this outcome, so I'm going to try something different. And I would constantly do that. And then I would figure out like what times of days should I be calling people, because I get much higher pickup rates at certain times and just all these little things. And over the course of years, I just developed a system that worked for me. And then I was able to kind of help other people replicate that. But I wasn't really formally trained until I got into the realm of where like sort of the high ticket selling realm, where there was enough money in it, because I was making like $20 a sale. I got like comms, like if that sometimes.
20 Australian dollars per sale.
Yeah.
So just for perspective, and we're going to build up to this in a second, but what do you make on a sale now? From $20 to, if you're the one who closes the sale for a client, one of your bigger clients, what would that be?
I think our biggest ever commission we've had come in would be like 400,000 or 500,000.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's a big step up. So
let's got one in the pipeline at the moment. That'll be a $5 million commission.
Wow.
Yeah.
$5 million commission.
Yeah, it's a $30 million product. So.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So obviously from being a personal trainer, gym trainer, sales, to right now having multiple corporations that you're running and a sales team and a training system, let's talk about bridging that gap. Tell me, like, what was the biggest milestone for you between that aha moment? Like, I can do this, I can help people, and I could sell. to now? Like, what was that quantum leap, if there was one?
The biggest thing for me was when I first, there was a business coach that wanted us to do a sales, and he was offering $2,000 commission per sale. And so I did the interview. I was like, yeah, I'll knock this out of the park. I've done this plenty of times. I've never done it, but I was like, yeah, I'll kill this. Like, this is my jam. Anyway, he completely ignored me. And so I just followed up with him like relentlessly. Like, I'm talking relentlessly. Like, I messaged this guy 6 times a day. I was a real pest. And then I finally said, hey man, I know that you obviously for whatever reason didn't want to go with me, but can I ask you one question? He replied and he goes, yeah, for sure. I said, how much does it cost you to get someone onto a sales call? He said, $400. I said, I'll pay you $400 for every sales call I don't close. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, you can't really say no to that. Right. So, and I closed 6 deals in the first week, set a company record. And then from there, we've had a really long, we're still doing the sales for that business. That was 2.5, 3 years ago. So we have a really good relationship with them moving forward. But that was a real moment for me, was like, okay, I'll just back myself and put myself in a situation where I have to succeed. And that's kind of been our motto kind of moving forward. That was from like this is the model. I think what set me apart from a lot of other people was content. And that's probably why we're on this call today. I started out, I've been doing content for a while now, like pretty much from day one, because my plan was to be associated with like, that guy's good at selling. That's it. Because I knew that I could sell, but I couldn't really figure out how I would get clients, to be perfectly honest. I was like, how do I get sales clients? Like, I had sort of bumbled and stumbled into things, like seemingly. And so I was like, okay, I need to put a system down, but it's not like I'm going to run ads. Like, it doesn't make sense to me to run ads for me to get a gig as a sales guy. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I was like, I'll just do content. And so I just decided, I set up my iPhone, and then I set up my ring light that I bought for $25 on Amazon. And I was like, every single day I will do a 3 to 5 minute educational video on Facebook every single day. And that was my personal Facebook page. I was like, I'll just do that. Like, and then I'll write stuff about what I'm doing, and then I'll put up wins. And then from there, I started getting noticed because I wasn't doing any call to action. So not a single one. Like, I didn't do a call to action for just under 2 years.
Wow. This reminds me of Gary Vee early days, just, the wine library, pumping out videos every single day, no hard selling, just educating. So what were you talking about in the 3 to 5 minutes? Oh, you had nothing to sell. So what inspired you to do this daily thing?
Because I was like, I have to be associated with being good at sales. If I want to have the best of the best business owners wanting me to do their sales, then I have to be associated with being good at that. So what I would do is because I was on sales calls like 8 hours a day. So I was like, I've got a lot of interesting information, and I'm doing high volume, high ticket, which is pretty rare. I was on multiple accounts selling in 2 different industries. So what I did is I just went, okay, cool. I just talked about like things that I was doing to get certain outcomes. And then like when I signed up to a sales course, I was talking about things that I'd adapted to make it better. I was talking about my show up rates and what I'm doing, my problem solving process, like very super transparent, like very, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is how it's working. This is something that I've learned, which I think maybe could benefit you. That was really it. And then I started posting up some wins that I was getting and stuff like that. And that's when sort of everything started to snowball. So then I was like, hey, I think I'll do a podcast.
So timeline wise, how many years ago was it that you started launching your videos? Because I actually want my editor who's going to edit this to cut in some of your really early videos so they can see some history. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, for sure. All the content's good. It's obviously gotten better quality and the audio, and that's a Sony Alpha 1 and stuff like that. There's a videographer creeping around in the background, plugging it in so it doesn't die. But yeah, like in the coffee is for closers, which is whatever. I've been going for about 3 years now, I think 3 years. But the thing with me is I always wanted to outdo everybody with content. For example, YouTube's a really tough medium. And I've seen a lot of my competitors go on YouTube and quit. You know what I mean? And I can see they're using your Social King and some of those other things to get views quickly and get subscribers quickly, because I know my niche and I know you can't really grow that fast and, all kinds of stuff like that. But I think people look at content in the wrong context. Content is not designed to get you an immediate ROI. Like, it's really not. Like, and if you're looking at a YouTube channel or a TikTok or like an Instagram or even doing a podcast and you're looking at like how do I, over the next 3 to 6 months, equate this to a 100% direct ROI? It's the wrong mentality, in my opinion, because it's the totality of output that you put out there, which is going to equate to a lot of goodwill. And goodwill and brand equity are like ineffable qualities that create value, not only within your company, but like within everything. Like, for example, Coca-Cola, right, has a 37 times multiple. Like, if you ever have a look at like brand valuation theory, I'm not sure how business nerdy you are, but basically a business like Coca-Cola, the brand is so strong, you can interchange all the people and nothing will change for 37 years. Like, that is their predictor, right? The years is what dictates the value of the company. It's not the people. Johnnie Walker, right, has like 150 times multiple, right? Because that business, literally, it's been around for hundreds of years. There's so much brand equity, right? And so like that's how I look at content. Like, if I just constantly put it out there and I'm always trying to make it better, but I'm not looking for the quick win. Like, I can't tell you how many of my competitors like haven't posted on YouTube for 3 months. I post 2 times a week, every week. I will never stop. And in 15 years, I will have a monster of a YouTube channel and an unstoppable brand because I didn't stop. And so same with my podcast. My podcast it gets good downloads. Like, in terms of like business podcasts, like, it's a successful podcast, but it's not like I'm getting 150,000 downloads an episode or anything. You know what I mean? Which I'm then calling to action and sending somewhere and then selling something. Like, I don't really have that much to sell. I have very high-end services that are very niche, but people come to me because they've been able to consume enough of my content to where they go, I think that guy knows what he's talking about, and I think he can help me. I've still 100%. Yet to run an ad for my business.
Still yet 0, huh? That's amazing. But you're actually with you're helping other people run ads, right, with your most recent venture.
Yeah.
Here's something interesting a lot of people bring up, because as you know, I have a content creation agency, and we help a lot of people who the listeners probably know their names. But one of the things that I realize is that people who are already at that 7 or 8 figure range, they understand what you're saying. They're just like, yep, the content is not about the immediate sale. It's about building brand. And it's so hard to define. And sometimes I say it's like a restaurant. Are you going to invest in plastic chairs? Or are you going to get leather seats? Right? Are you going to have the beautiful lighting, or, the factory neon lights on top, right? Are you like, everything about the ambiance of the restaurant is going to decide whether you charge $200 a plate or $20 a plate, or less, $5 a plate, right?
Yeah.
And the food on the plate, to be honest, a lot of people can't tell the difference in the quality, but it's the experience that raises what you can charge. And, that's kind of a loose correlation between the quality and the frequency of content you put out there to how much you can charge and what kind of clientele you're going to attract. Exactly
right. Like, when I first started, like, we were doing, I think maybe 10K a month when I first, no, not even. Like, but yeah, probably 10, 12 grand a month we were probably doing. But like, that was not profitable. Like, that was negative profit. Like, I was lucky enough to where when I did organize the exit, I basically had a 12-month salary, right? So I didn't pay myself a dime for 12 months. And listen, it was not a big salary at all. It was quite modest, but it was enough for me to pay my.
So which business is this you're talking about? Just so I can keep track.
So when I exited from the gyms, right, okay, I got a 12 months, because I basically said, hey, listen, instead of paying me out in one big chunk, just pay me out over 12 months, right? And it wasn't much. I think it was like $65,000 or something. So I had $65,000 a year coming in, right? But I didn't need much at that time, so I could pay myself very minimally from the business. But all I did was, like, content is free. Like, it's like, it doesn't take, if you're very first starting out, right? Like, and you don't want to get someone to do it for you, it's just like, you can do it from your iPhone. You literally can. And then you just edit it in iMovie and then pop it out on the internet. That's exactly what I did. Right now, the first investment that I made was an editor. Like, that was the very first investment. I didn't even know people like you existed, if I'm perfectly honest. Like, when I first started, I had no idea. So I hired an editor. That editor cost me, I think he was part-time for me. It cost me like $2,500 a month or something like that. But just to pump out some basic videos. Nothing like the repurposing and stuff like that, is in play now. And what I think is probably necessary to really grow, doing some of the stuff that you do with, just like the one camera, one piece, and then parsed out to everything. I wish I had that, but anyway, I didn't. So like I got an editor. And then from there, that allowed me more time to do more content. And then I started looking at like, a few of my competitors, they started realizing that I was getting like huge traction and I was taking market share because I was everywhere and I wasn't paying for anything, but I was just posting lots of content. And that was because nobody was doing that. Nobody was like, at least in my space, was just giving away free content. Like it was just free. I got nothing to sell you, man. Like I'm a sales guy doing sales. Like, what am I going to sell you? You know what I mean? So, and so a lot of my competitors started then doing similar stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, excellent. So I bought a better camera. I was like, sweet. So now I've got a good camera. It wasn't great. It was like a Sony A6400, but then I did that. And then I bought a microphone. I was like, sweet. I'll start recording locally, right? Better quality, same content, boom, out there. Again, I got another notch. Then they started doing that. And then I was like, sweet, I'll have a podcast and a YouTube channel. Good. Now I've got more platforms. Now I can talk in long form. Now I can be more creative and I'm not stifled to like a 3 to 5 minute video on sort of Facebook. And then it was like, cool. Then I'm going to get an office and I'm going to get a studio and have a studio production thing. And then I was like, now I'm going to have multicam. Now I'm going to have this. Now I have this. Now this. Now we're taking next door and we're turning that into just a studio where we're going to have 3 different areas for all different types of content. It's going to be huge. It'll be like a $300,000 or $400,000 fit out. So we're just taking it to the next level constantly because like I want to stay ahead of where everybody. I want my content to be so good that people wouldn't dare compete with it. Like it's basically
they could try. They could try.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I look at it. But like the whole thing was like, if like I just want my name to be associated with good at sales. That's it. And so I was like, if that's my plan, then I might as well just go out there and try and execute that. And that's basically, and then we've made some pivots recently to try and be more associated with like entrepreneurship and a little bit of marketing as well. So like we've had to sort of do some pivots in our content, which has been sort of like an interesting exercise to be able to do it effectively whilst not like alienating like our core audience and stuff like that. But yeah, like content is just so important. And it like literally, as someone who does sales for other businesses for a living, there is nothing that aggravates me more than when business owners just want to spend more money on ads. They want to get more fancy media buying when all they really have to do is just pump out quality, consistent content that speaks to their niche and their market, because that will do half the selling for you.
Now, you when you exited the gym business, you were at 10K a month. And now, like within a few years, I think you believe 3 or 4 years. Is that right? From then to now?
I think three and a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. If you don't mind, could you give some rough numbers around what you're grossing right now in your business compared to before?
Last month we did about 3 million.
Okay. So we're at like a 3 million per month run rate from 10K, which is that's literally 3,000 times more, isn't it? Yeah.
We're the second fastest growing company in Australia and in the top 1,000 in the US.
In all honesty, do you believe you would have gotten there if you weren't putting out free content on social media?
No, that's why people think it's crazy. I got a $12,000 camera sitting in front, like, with all the lenses and everything like that. I just hired another as full-time social media. Like our content department is really expensive. And like, I constantly get pushback from like financial controller and CFO. And it's just like, oh, this is like, dude, like this is why we get so many leads. Like, so we don't run direct ads. We run a ton of direct advertising for 7th Level, like a ton, right? But we do a boatload of content, like a boatload. Go on there. Like it's the Ken Okasaki Platinum package. It's all day, every day content, right? And so that, and like to the point where like celebrities reach out to us, like at 7th Level, like on Jeremy's Instagram, we have like proper celebrities reaching out, asking us to help their sales teams for their programs and stuff like that. I've got a couple of meetings this week with some super high profile individuals, and that's just all from Reels and content. But for like all the sniper services, like we've never had to run ads because one, we're a pretty boutique agency. Like we can't take on that many clients, and nor do we want to, which is the same for most agencies, to be honest. Most agencies don't want 7,000 clients. They want 50 really good ones, right? But we get a ton of inquiries, and that comes through my personal Facebook, my Instagram. It comes through our website. It comes through a lot of email inquiries, and all that stuff is all funneled through because we have a podcast where you can listen to me talk in depth, in detail for hundreds of hours about sales process and business. So if you're doing some research on me, which I'm not sure if you've done, but like you can do your own research and you can go, okay, like I see I understand this person and I think they know what they're talking about. And you can listen to enough video and audio to be able to make that decision. And then from there, like basically you're sold. Now it's just like, tell me the details, right? And that's a huge thing, especially for agency owners and also for coaches, because there's so many different types of buyers. Some people just see a problem, want to fix it now. They don't really care about some of the mechanisms, but most people are going to require some nurturing. And the way that I looked at it and the way that I tell my clients to look at it is if every single prospect you have like is being nurtured by your top 5 competitors, then how do you out nurture them? And the answer is not more ads, more media buying. The answer is provide them with incredible amounts of value, with almost no expectation of a return. And you will get back what you put out. And like, if I can digress, the best example that I can have of this, and if people want to take this home, is I didn't do a call to action for nearly 2 years. So when we opened this office, because this is the podcast room as part of a greater office, it's all sound treated and stuff. It was going to cost about $200,000 to fit out. And I was like, oh, I didn't have $200,000 at the time in liquid cash that we could really inject into it. So I was like, I went to my guys. We were doing about $300,000 a month at the time. I was like, I wonder if we've created enough brand equity to be able to cash some of that in. And so I was like, I've done a lot of content. I've never once done a call to action. I was like, sweet, I'm going to give this a crack. So what I did is I came up with a product that was going to be $3,000. And I was like, sweet, if I can sell 50 of them, it's 150 grand. And I was like, that pays for most of the office. That should be good. So I came up with a charity masterclass, 5-hour masterclass for charity, all about the stuff that I've been talking about, which was like my point of difference in sales was like selling with stories. Right? I have a lot of storytelling in my sales. And so that's what I talked about a lot of the time because it's very me, stories, analogies, hooks, reframes, stuff like that. That's what people listen to me for. And so I created a 5-hour masterclass on specifically that. And I was like, it's all the front end goes to charity. It's $47 all the way up to $500. You can donate what you want. That 100% goes to charity. The reason why I did it that way is because I didn't want to lose any of my brand equity on the front end. Because I'm doing it for charity, that's not me. I'm going to wait to cash in my brand equity at the end. And then from there, we got a few hundred people to it. Like we got, I think 400 or 500 people just from an organic Facebook post. Hey guys, this is what I'm doing. That's literally it. And I sent out a couple of emails to people who are on my list. And I mentioned it I'll mention it on all my channels. And then from there, we had a few hundred people. We had 500 people show up to it. We ended up with about 60 people into a $3,000 program. So we paid for the entire office in 5 hours. And that was all because I was able to use all the brand equity that I'd built up over the course of that time, just giving out really good quality content with no CTAs, no nothing. And I was able to cash that in and do something with it. And then I was very aware that I went even harder on the content after that with 0 call to actions for a while to make sure that I kind of reestablished that brand equity. And that's how my brain was looking at it. I was like, okay, I've built this up. I'm going to cash it in now.
I love that. And it's so important. A lot of people, the first question they ask me is, what camera should I get? What I always tell them is, that's the wrong question. The right question is, how can I get really good at storytelling, make some money from people engaging and wanting to learn from me, and then reward myself with the camera I want, but use the phone in your pocket. Now, have you ever faced imposter syndrome? Was that ever an issue when you were getting started? Like, why should they listen to me? Like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's not anymore. I think it definitely was probably up until about a year ago, I would say. I think it's just something that you have to deal with. I think the big thing is like, I've never lied and I've never pretended. I've never posted numbers that weren't real. I don't pose in front of Lambos because I don't own one. When I first started, I tried to do stuff I think that was a little bit less authentic because I was trying to look at what other people had done in the space and what was successful. And then I sort of like just cracked the shits with it and just went, oh, I'm just going to do whatever I want. Whether it's, I'm just going to do what I want. And if I do what I want, it's going to come off really well. And I think a lot of the feedback that I get from my podcast and my brand is that, oh, it's clearly you. I'm the same person here as I am my kids, I'm just the same person. Right. And so I think that's really important. And then there's nothing to be an imposter about because like, you're just talking about your stuff, your story, telling things that you know about. Like there are better people in sales than me. Like Jeremy Miner is a better salesperson. Alex Hormozi probably a better business owner, right? Like, there are people who are better than things at me, but I'm good at what I do. And so I can help people through my content, and I just got to stop giving a shit about what other people think. I don't care about hate online. I don't care about any of that. I have friends, I have family, I have enough like support in my life to not have to worry about what some guy in his basement, in his mother's basement with 17 cats thinks about me on an ad or thinks about me on YouTube or something. So I think the biggest thing for me was just like, man, just stay in your lane, talk about things that you know about, and do it like yourself, and don't worry about what other people are doing. Just do what you enjoy. And if you enjoy making the content, man, it's easy. If you're sitting there grinding away and hating it, then it's shit. But like, you should be enjoyable. If you don't like being on camera, but you love doing coaching calls, hey man, just set up a good quality camera while you do a coaching call. Do your coaching call, send it to Ken. He'll repurpose it for you. Bing, bang, bong. You have content. It's a great way to do it. So for me, like, I really enjoy being on camera. I like writing stuff. It's my most creative endeavor. And I get to shape the way the business is perceived in the marketplace, which again, which gets us in front of different clients and gets us different demographics, which is really interesting. And it's just a really fun thing to be doing, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun once you stop thinking about yourself and you start thinking about the other. Like, it's so cliche, but it's super real. I want to ask you the $3 million question, since you're at 3 million a month. What does your current content creation process look like, all the way from when you ideate to when you shoot to when it's out there on the platforms? Could you give us a high level view of that so that people get an idea? Because I think a lot of people are thinking, okay, great, put it everywhere, but they don't have. Well, everybody's going to have a different process. Would love to hear yours.
For sure. So we have a couple of different things. So if it's, first of all, it all starts with, we do our revenue projections. And then from there, we do our product output. So like, we decide how that revenue is going to be created. Then from there, Marco, our CRO, goes away and formulates a business plan, right? Based off all of the market research that he does. And then from there, that gives us what we're going to be selling, exactly when, what timelines. Then from there, now we know how the business needs to be perceived in order to maximize the revenue, right? Then from there, we put together a content schedule around that. So we go like what are the film date and release dates, right? Because the release dates are what's really important, and we need like significant editing time. Then from there, I have 9 hours a week booked out for content, and we have a full-time editor, full-time content curator, and a full-time creative director. So I walk into a room. Usually, today was a bit of an exception, but usually I walk into a room, everything's set up. They give me the shot list. I've usually gone over and written all my bullet points before that. And then we go press play. I do my thing. I walk out, and then it gets edited. It's done. Like, I don't really, that's how we'll shoot like ads. Like, if like, we don't do ads, but we do a lot of awareness advertising. So we do a lot of lead magnet stuff. So you probably say, oh, I've seen Matt's ads all the time. Yeah, we don't do ads specifically for our service. I do a ton of lead magnet ads because, and then again, 99% of those people it's not really designed for the people that we sell to. It's designed for like the sales reps who are in the businesses. A lot of our referrals come from like sales reps, and it's just good for like list building activities. So that's how we'll shoot ads, and that's how we'll shoot like specific YouTube content. But from the podcast, which is where a lot of our repurposing comes from, we have our podcast ideas. My co-host, Pat, we've been friends for like best friends for like 15 years. So it's very easy. It flows very well. We have a 3-cam setup. And then from there, that's like where all of the reels and TikToks and everything is repurposed from the podcast, because it's our longest form. And then I have a camera set up in my office as well, which is for coaching calls. And again, that's where they'll pull other content from. So like, what we try and do is we try and limit the amount of time that I spend in front of a camera. That's just camera time. Like a podcast, we'll usually shoot like 1 to 2 a week. They're about an hour and a half each. And then I'll usually book out all the other time for advertising or portal videos. That's pretty much as high level as it gets. The editing process, I don't know. I don't do it anymore.
So as far as you go, you know the revenue projection, you got the market research, and you know what to talk about. The gear is set up, you shoot it, and then you're out of there running the business, right?
Yeah.
And your team has a framework that they go through, process it, get it on social media.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of people get tangled in the tech. They think they're the ones that need to edit it, that need to micromanage every single thing. If there's one punctuation wrong, then they're gonna, stop the whole assembly line, the factory. And then you realize that one little tiny thing that might not be 100% the way you want it is gonna cost you that momentum if you're gonna stop it every single time for that. Not saying that it shouldn't happen, but at the same time, what's the lost opportunity of stopping it every single time there's a
I'd rather get someone. I just want to get something out there. Like on a lot of the platforms these days, quantity is important. And so like if you want to be able to make some noise, or if you want to get seen, quantity is key. Now listen, quality is also super important, which is where the mistake that a lot of people make is sending things off to an editor. That's one of the mistakes that I made. Was just sending things off to an editor. Editors are not content curators. Like you need to have a middleman, or you need to break down your content into a dot form and then go, here's the gold nuggets, here's the gold nuggets, here's the gold nuggets. And that's where someone like you becomes extraordinarily interesting and useful, is because like I can just dump content to you, right? And then from there, you guys go through it, you figure out what the gold nuggets are, and then you have the editors do the thing, and then you just get it back and it's all done, right? Which is like a huge step. And that's one of the things, like when I was doing it, that was my biggest time log, because I had an editor and then he would just send me stuff back and I was like, what is this? Right?
They have to have a marketing mind, and most editors don't, and they shouldn't have to. They should be really good at cutting and making it interesting. Exactly. Whereas somebody else needs to direct them. And that's that director / content curator role. It's been a game changer in my company. Don't let the editors have to make those decisions. Don't force them to, because that's not their thing. And the editors, in a traditional filmmaking situation, editors edit, directors tell them what to do, and then they actually do it.
Yeah, because it's a technical skill set.
Yeah, exactly. That director role is in there. But if both you and the editor don't realize that the other person is expecting the other person to direct the edits, then that's why things go down the toilet, is because nobody knows who the director is, right?
Yeah. And like you're much better off like spitting hot fire into an iPhone than you are just doing hot garbage.
I want to wrap this up in just a minute, but I want to know, for anybody who's, let's just say they're, making at least $100,000 a year, maybe a bit more, but not quite at that level where they feel like the social media engagement is pulling. They feel like they're pushing, right? And it's not picking up traction. What advice do you have for someone like that who might feel stuck?
You need to break down what is working and what isn't. And so that's where the beautiful things, like a lot of the analytics that you get these days, which are somewhat fairly new, is you can see a lot of the breakdowns of what's working and what's not. One of the things that I will say, like you have to realize that the different platforms react differently with different people. If you're posting on a personal Facebook, never have an intro outro. Don't do it. It will destroy your engagement. If you're posting on a business Facebook, that's fine. You can have an intro outro. You've got 6 or 7 seconds to grab someone's attention. So make sure that you do that. So have something to grab their attention, like at the beginning, and then watch your content and like look at it critically and go, okay, am I umming? Am I ahhing? Can I be more concise? How can I sort of really grab this person's attention better? And do that for each individual platform, because each algorithm wants different things. Like when I was posting on just Facebook, I never looked at the likes and comments. I looked at the views. That's all it was. So I treated it like YouTube, and I would just try and get more views. And my goal was to get 1,000 views on each video. And that was on my personal Facebook. And if I got 1,000 views, then I knew that I was doing good and it was good quality content. And, the likes and shares and comments and that kind of stuff is great, but it's eyeballs watching. So find out what your success metrics are and try and hit them and look at it analytically and take it seriously, but also try and enjoy it. Content is, and it actually shits me when I see all these advertisements. Don't post content. No, guys, like content is the only difference between you and a brand. Like Dan Locke, is for all of his faults, as a business owner or whatever, like what he did brilliantly was he just came out of nowhere. He posted so much on YouTube that he dominated every single keyword in sales. Dominated. And like before anybody knew what's happening, and his content quality and production level was beyond what anybody else was willing to do. And that's how he grew that business so fast. He got to 10 million a month. Yeah. Like big boy business quickly. Now it's not doing that anymore, but yeah, like, man, impressive. The power of content is it's like, it just keeps going. And you can see YouTube videos. Like last month, I got 18,000 views on my YouTube channel, and it was 2,000 view hours. Just 2,000 hours of people watching my content. To buy that, like on Facebook, man, it'd bankrupt any company. 2,000 hours. You just can't beat it in terms of, that's not even including like the people who download the podcast and stuff like that. But man, just the amount of like ears and eyeballs that you get for sustained periods of time with quality content is unmatchable in the long run.
Absolutely. I'm in some masterminds. Just a little while ago, Alex Hormozi, he used to, back in the day, kind of diss on organic, because he was very much into direct marketing, paid ads, because he could control all the parameters. And he's damn good at it. He's doing close to $100 million, built up that business based on that. But he recently, since he went all in with with YouTube and Facebook and pretty much every channel that's out there, he was sharing in a private mastermind. He said, you know what? Everything I ever said about organic is shit. I take it all back. This is freaking crazy. I'm getting about 40 hot qualified leads coming in daily without paying a single cent. So I guess you got to experience it to do it. And of course, he teaches at such a high level that attracts the right kind of people. But I think that a lot of people who diss it, they just haven't really fully tried it, and they haven't committed to it for a long enough period for the results to come in.
You're looking at it under the wrong banner. If you're looking to start a YouTube channel, first of all, YouTube is a rough game. It is a highly competitive. It is the hardest of the hard.
It's also got the most haters.
Yeah. But it's just like, it's difficult to get. There are so many things that you have to do to get right. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. I would rather have 1,000 people view my video who are in my niche than have a video go viral and have a bunch of randos watch it that don't give a fuck. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It's not how many views you get. It's the quality of the eyeballs that you have in front of you. And like my channel, I have 3,000 subscribers. We got 18,000 views, but that's total views. You know what I mean? So it's not a shitload. We get around 700 to 1,500 views a video, and that's just creeping up nicely, but that's not big numbers by any stretch of the imagination. But they are quality eyeballs. They are in our niche, and they are the people that I want watching my stuff. And that's how we get a lot of inquiries for our services. You don't need to go viral to have impact. And I think that's the big thing. They're trying to get the view count up. It's no, guys, like the reason why you're getting these new leads through, the reason why you're getting quality sales or your close rates are going up, it's not because your sales guys are getting better, your funnels are better. It's because you're putting out more quality content. People are watching it, consuming it while they're in the sales process or before the sales process. It's a very difficult thing to track, but it is like when you start doing it consistently, you just feel that it's working. Yeah.
And I think the other thing, and I know we're running short on time here, but a lot of people confuse two different strategies for making money on YouTube. There's, on the one hand, the YouTubers who their job is to just get views and they get advertising money. That's one way to make a living. And about, 2% of full-time YouTubers can actually make a full-time living from it. And then there's people like us who want to educate, inspire, and build trust with people so that people will buy from your business. And what you make from the YouTube, like as far as ad spend, is probably pennies.
I make about
zero.
$50 a month.
Yeah, there you go. My brother, for example, he runs a multi-million-dollar business, all based off his YouTube channel. And he says, like what he gets in ad revenue is like negligible, but what he makes is a multi-seven-figure business in his real business. So I think that's something that I got to explain to people so many times. Like, these are two different models. Which one are you? Are you a business owner using YouTube, or are you a YouTuber living on YouTube? And the quicker you figure that out, when I think our audience is mostly going to be the former, right? The quicker you figure it out, the more clarity you'll get in your KPIs.
Listen, I would love to pull in, $50,000 a month on YouTube ad revenue, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. Like, I will not stop YouTube. It forces me to be better and better at content, because the YouTube algorithm will let you know if your video is good.
There you go. All right, Matt, we're going to wrap this up. I appreciate this so much. And I just want to leave this off with, I think we've been working together for a little bit now, and you know what I do. I know what you do. What kind of person do you think should hire an agency, or what stage should it be where they say, hey, you know what? I want to get to just delivering my truth, building my audience, and I don't want to get tangled into the tech, and I want to invest in that. What kind of person is that?
I think it's the person who wants to be taken seriously in their marketplace, and do it as soon as you can physically afford it. Because like I did it all myself, and listen, it was great, but it definitely slowed me down. Had I have known that there were options out there to be able to, like, I paid an editor, but I could have paid someone probably roughly the same and gotten a much more maximized output. And so I think, yeah, anyone who wants to be taken seriously and have your name associated with something, like, that's all it is. I want to be associated with better at sales, better at marketing, helping people find a better relationship, or having more time freedom, or whatever it is you want to do. Like, that's what content helps you do. You are associated with, and the power of that is intense when it works and when it goes right and when you're consistent with it. But when you just stop because you're not getting the views, like, that is why no one will remember your name, as it says in Troy. Just keep going. Just keep grinding. It's fine.
Yeah. I know that scene. That little kid, he's giving him his armor. Yeah, got it. If anybody wants to find out more about you or work with you or look you up, where's the best place for people to find you?
Salesniper.net. There's many different avenues from there. Or you can hit me. I think it's Real Matt Ryder on Instagram. I will not try and sell you Forex. I will not try and sell you crypto. If somebody with Real Matt Ryder does, it is not me. It's usually an underscore in there somewhere. So
there you go. So guys, hit him up, guys. Go to salesniper.net or Real Matt Ryder. Look him up. He's got awesome sales training stuff, and that is actually how I found him. Matt, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast, and I look forward to interviewing you again in the future, and I think that's going to happen.
All right. Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Bye.